So what is soul purpose? Part of understanding what soul purpose is also understanding what it is not. One of the things that it is not is an intellectual process, right? It's more of what I call, it's more of a metaphysical compass. It is this internal force navigating us through our intuition in the direction of our biggest dreams, what it is we really want in life. If this was the only force inside of us navigating us forward, then you wouldn't need to be doing this soul purpose program. You would always know exactly what you wanted to do next, how you wanted to do it. You would handle any challenges in your way easily and move on to the next thing, right? Because it's not the only internal navigating force, is the reason that we will be intellectualizing this metaphysical process, something that's not intellectual, right? The other force inside of us is a force that I call monkey mind. You might have heard it as inner critic, egoic mind, limiting beliefs, reptilian brain. It's all the same thing. I like the term monkey mind. It's an old-time Buddhist term, but I like it because it's a more enduring term. And in the work that I do, it's not such a bad thing. Actually, it's an essential thing to our survival, one, but two, to really understanding our soul purpose, because our monkey mind is the part of our brain, it is our amygdala, it is that reptilian brain, is the part of our brain that has kept our caveman forefathers safe from saber-toothed tigers and has kept the Homo sapiens species alive up until now. So it's great for keeping us alive, but not so great for having us thrive, right? But what it does this really unique thing for soul purpose, right? Because in order to know anything, you actually need to know its opposite as well. And this is where monkey mind serves us also, because to know what your soul purpose really is, to know who you really are, you have to be able to know the opposite of it also, to really fully remember it. I think it's more of remembering your soul purpose than discovering it. And having the opposite of it is how we are able to see the contrast to come into our fullest mastery of our soul purpose. So for this reason, that's why I like the term monkey mind. It's not such a bad thing. It's actually essential to survival and soul purpose mastery. So in this program, we'll be not only taking you through processes to get really clear on what your soul purpose is and put it into words, and we'll be doing that by intellectualizing the process. I'll talk more about that. But we'll also be helping you get clear on your monkey mind and being able to put words to that and understanding how that shows up, because that is just as essential to understanding your soul purpose as being able to put powerful words to it. So if we started this soul purpose journey with simplicity, we would start with your vision of having you step right into who you're being and what you're doing unrestricted from monkey mind. And then as we intellectualize the process, we're doing that to produce clarity with some distinctions for discernment. There's 4 ways that we are clear on things. We use words, we use numbers, we use images, and that feeling of truth in our body. And that feeling of truth in our body can't be trusted alone. Because what if you ate something and something funny, or you just had a fight with your sweetheart, and that feeling can be muddled with other things. So it can't be trusted without one or hopefully more of those other things: words, numbers, and images. So we'll be using all of those in this process to get clear. The outcome of this process is not going to be a soul purpose crystal ball that from here on out you can turn any question that you have, you look to the crystal ball and you have all of your answers for any decision from here until the end of your life, right? And would you really even want that? When I work with clients, in the beginning they think they want that. I want soul purpose to let me make that decision clear and easy to make. But imagine if you had any question that you had to make, a big choice, if you just always had this crystal ball to go to, oh, yes to that, no to that, life would be so boring, right? If you really think about it. I know that in the moment when choices are hard, it feels like that's what we want, but in reality, that doesn't make life, it doesn't give it the richness and the fullness and the mystery and the wonder that this ever perplexing, beautiful, wonderful life is. And truthfully, the more you start getting into your soul purpose, you will have harder decisions to make, because you will start making decisions within your soul purpose. And those are the decisions between good and good and great to great, right? But you will have tools that will help you with those decisions. So it's not going to be a back and forth with like monkey mind and soul purpose. It's going to be more navigating towards more truth, using all of your upcoming challenges and opportunities in life to step more inside of your soul purpose, to get more focused, and also have more understanding of how monkey mind shows up, so that you can also have greater discernment of that in your life and kind of surrender more of that. So that's why it's a journey, and it's not a destination to be reached. It's a place to come from. Your soul purpose journey never stops. It just continues to evolve into what's next and what's next and what's next. And if you treat it as such, not a destination to be reached, but rather this beautiful place to come from, it's really, I know it's cliched, but it's all about the journey. So the process that I'll be taking you through initially in this first series is really working on clarity around that who you are piece. Okay, because who you are is very unique and very specific. When you walk into a room, the essence is different. It's felt. And when you leave, there's something missing. And being able to put words to that is a part of what we'll be doing here. So there's 4 different exercises that I'll be taking you through to help you put words to what your soul purpose is. And there's more to what makes you up than these 4 clarifiers that we'll be doing the exercises around. But these are the 4 clarifiers that we use specifically to have soul purpose be a tool for economic independence. These 4 clarifiers are things that you'll put into play in creating your investment criteria, in creating your philosophy for earning and spending, investing and saving and giving, creating your philosophy for parenting and your business, all of the things that are important to you. You'll be working with these 4 clarifiers to create the distinctions around where you want to invest your time and money in. So it kind of begins with this foundation. So the 4 clarifiers, I'll say them and then I'll explain them briefly. And then as we get into each exercise, I'll describe them a little bit more. So you have your core values, who you really are. You have your core drivers, what's most important to you. You have your core competencies, your strengths, and you have your core stand, your strongest held beliefs. Okay? So your core values are different than your business core values. Your core values is your truest essence of being as who you are. And if you have more than one kid, you know that when they're born, they're not the same baby. They come into this world unique. They have their own essence. Every object or item has an essence, as every person. If I were to explain to you what I have in my hand here, I could say it's metal, it has a click at one bottom, and it has a pointy end, and there's a little clip thing. I don't know, that's probably not the best explanation. Or I could just put this in your presence, and you would know exactly what it was without me saying a word. It's because it has its own essence. You have your own essence. I have an essence. We all have an essence. You cannot see your own essence. It is like the water you swim in. And so you need help from others to be able to pull it out and put it into words. It's also kind of like, I imagine if you had like a bright light bulb behind your head and it was like bright purple, and you walk into the room and everybody in the room can see, oh, bright purple, but you can't see it because it's back here, right? And so the exercise that I'll be taking you through will help you be able to put words to what that is. Your business core values, you do get to choose those. Your personal essence, you don't choose. It's just you're born with it. You bring it to everything that you do. Your business core values are going to be a deliberate choice of the essence you want your business to be in the world. So those you will choose. Your core drivers, these are all of the different areas in your life that are most important to you. Family, friends, your health, your career. Maybe you have a few different businesses. Maybe there's some projects within the business that are unique their own. Any different area of your life that is important to you and worthy of your time and energy, worthy of getting on your calendar. These are all listed here. And anything that's important to you, we're going to create a philosophy statement to, or a commitment to, with goals, right? Because, and then each of these goals will work with some strategy piece under the impact part of soul purpose to create goals that get on your calendar, right? Because one of the things that I have really discovered especially this last year, is that as my work became more exciting, I'm writing books, I'm working on a TED Talk, I can watch somebody's life change in front of me in 1 hour. It's so exciting. Parenting is not always that exciting, especially right now with a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. It's like, it's like constantly draining. And thinking about that. So I will, if I'm left to my own devices, I will choose the exciting over the not exciting time and time again. My meditation practice also isn't exciting, my yoga practice. And if I don't make commitments to all of the things that are important to me and put them on the calendar, then I will lose the life I love in creating the life I want. I became actually close to experiencing that about a year ago, and this is where I started to develop this practice of what I call lifestyle design, which is one of the things that we'll be working on here. So that's your drivers. What's important to you? But it's not just knowing what's important to you, it's also knowing what to do with what's important to you and how to strategically be with it in action in a really deliberate way, so that the things that are important to you are on your calendar and are in your life, even while you're going for really exciting dreams. Your core competencies are your strengths, and these are so what we'll be doing here is not only assessing your strengths, and my guess is at this point in the game in your success that you already know your strengths, a lot of your strengths. We can do different personality tests, look through those to collect a few more. You can get feedback from friends and colleagues to collect more strengths and identify them. But the real beneficial work here in core competencies is the guardrails that we'll be creating around them, because too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing, and a strength overplayed can become a weakness, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, and that's the guardrails that we'll be creating here. And a guardrail can be a non-negotiable, a distinction, a goal, a practice that you put in place to ensure that your strength is played out as such, that you don't create the conditions, that you avoid the conditions and or consistently create the conditions where your strength gets played out as such. So a quick example of that, one of my strengths is I'm a visionary. I am, if you're familiar with the Colby, I'm a high quick start, low follow through, low fact finder. I am always, that's why I'm even talking fast, I'm always thinking of ideas. I've got, my mind's going 1,000,000 miles a minute, and highly creative. You need a business idea? Come talk to me for 2 minutes and I've got one for you. And in the past, I would get really passionate about all of those and jump into them in one way or another and have my hands in so many different buckets and nothing would pan out. And then I'd get frustrated and then I'd make that mean something about me. And when I started creating guardrails, I'll take you through the process that I did, is that we'll look at your strength and then we'll examine your past and your present for your best successes and your greatest failures. And we'll look at that specific strength. So visionary, well, how did that play out in that strength? How did that play out in that failure? What were the conditions that were present for strengths and what occurred to make it a failure? When I examined that, I saw, oh, well, it just looks so obvious when you start to examine it for that. Didn't see it before until I went looking in that specific, for that specific thing. And I saw clearly that the strength, like the high quick start, the idea person, it worked brilliantly if I had somebody who would love to do the details, and like a fact finder if it was a program, a book, or a manual or something that could use some facts with it. When I partnered with those type of people in it, it was like butter. It just so quick and smooth and so fun, because I just got to be the idea person and they would execute the little details. Like, I couldn't believe something could really go that easy. So the guardrail that I created for myself around that is, anytime I have a big idea for a big project, I don't initiate that project without having a detail, high follow-through person on my side and a high fact finder if that warrants it. Another guardrail I have for this, because this is a strong leading strength in my life, is that my personal assistant always has to be a high follow-through. Okay, now here's the caveat around that, is that my assistant cannot be the person who's designated for a project to be that high follow-through person. She's busy managing so many of the details of my day-to-day business and life. Like, if I were to give her a bunch of the details for a specific project too, that would completely overload her. And so that's another guardrail that's in place. So I can either partner or hire an additional person, any big project, to be that high follow through for me. If I don't have that person in place, then that idea goes into my parking lot of ideas and stays there until if and when it's time, it makes sense to do it. Right? So we'll be doing this with your strengths, really looking at what are the strengths, what are the conditions that this strength isn't a strength, and what are the conditions that are present when it really gets to shine, and creating those guardrails for you. Last one is your core stand, and your core stand is, these are your strongest held beliefs. If you wanted a soul purpose statement, this would be it. And as a matter of fact, I accidentally discovered a process here years ago when I was working with a chiropractor who had been in practice for 30 years. His name's Ron DeSandra in Santa Barbara. And he said the last 20 years, he just wanted out. He just wanted to retire. And when we started working together, he said, Demi, I don't really want to do this soul purpose thing because all my coaches keep talking about scaling my business, and I don't want to grow my business. I want to get out. So I said, all right, well, let's just design that for you. Let's design your life. This soul purpose is creating the life you want. So as we got into it, one day I got really curious about Ron, and I just really wanted to know why he became a chiropractor in the first place. And I started asking him a series of questions, and I was taking notes, as I often do. And I was looking at his words on my computer screen that I had typed up. And I said, Ron, hang on just a second. Can I play with your words for a minute? And he said, yeah. So I went silent for a minute and just started playing with the words that he had said and was rearranging them a little bit. And I said, can I read back to you what I have here? And I read him what I had. And it was about helping people maximize their fullest potential in their life by reducing interference. And I said this statement to him. I can't remember it exactly. And it went silent on his end for a few minutes. And I thought, oh, crap. I did it wrong. I took too much liberty. And then he got really emotional. And he said, Demi, this is why I became a chiropractor in the first place. And if that wasn't incredible enough, a month later when I talked to him, he said, that spark that I got back from just hearing that statement, it didn't end right after that session. It continued. And I changed the front desk person to get somebody that was more in alignment with my purpose. And now I see with this person in place, we're aligned, and she anticipates my needs. It's fun again. I can talk about scaling. I do want to do more. I am not done yet. I can help more people maximize their potential. From that day, I started playing with this more and more. And what I discovered is that there's a biological reason for not being able to put words to why you do what you do. And check it out. If I were to ask you why you do what you do, or what it is you're most passionate about, or why you love your sweetheart, your kids, if you can feel that so much more powerfully than you can articulate it, There's a biological reason for that. It's because why we do what we do is connected to our emotions, which is actually a really good thing. And our emotions, this is our sole purpose. They're connected to our emotions. And they move us into action. If we were motivated by action logically, we would definitely be extinct as a species because nobody would have kids. Right? Because having kids makes no sense. They're expensive, they're time consuming, they never say thank you, they don't pick up after themselves, and if your kids do something different, then please do your tutorial for me, because that is definitely not something I'm missing. It makes no logical reason. Starting a business makes no logical reason. You have to put out the initial investment. It's a risk, and you could lose. And many people on their way to successful entrepreneurship have lost a lot along the way. It logically doesn't make sense. Falling in love, exposing your heart, taking the chance to have it be broken. None of it makes sense. All of this is emotional. We feel, even though it makes no sense logically, we have to do it. It's what we must do. And this is how our soul purpose moves us through emotion. This is our why. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. If you haven't read that book, you can check out his TED Talk. But his whole premise is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you can talk about what you do from the context of why you do it, it's really powerful, because that moves people. But it's also really hard to do, like I just said, because when your limbic brain, where the emotions are connected to, when that's fired up, when you're thinking about your why, the cognitive part of the brain that articulates words and language is in the background, dormant. And so I've worked with people in this process, from that day forward, starting to work with Ron, who told me they have worked on this project. They have tried to come up with their why statement for years. They've done workshops on it and have never been able to get to where we have been able to get to in an hour. And the reason is they were always trying to figure it out on their own. And this process that I accidentally discovered with Ron is that it works brilliantly if you can work with another person. And so what we do here is we'll interview you and target your limbic, collect as many words and phrases as possible to then work with those cognitively in a way that would be harder for you to. Craft a kind of a template power succinct statement for you that you can then work with and make it more of your own. In the process of having your words and your ideas spoken back to you in this power succinct way, it's powerful. It's emotional for everybody that experiences it. And that's because when you get to be the listener of your powerful words instead of the speaker, it just lands right into your heart really powerfully, and is really, I call this the fuel of your passion. And when you're in touch with this and you have words for it, it not only moves you into more powerful action, but it moves your audience into the action that you want them to take. It's such a cutting edge in marketing and being able to speak directly into your customers' ears. Right? So those are the 4 clarifiers that will work within that who you are piece of this first part of soul purpose. Your core values, who you are, your core drivers, what's important to you, your core competencies, your strengths and the guardrails, and your core stand, your strongest held beliefs, and that fuel behind what you do. And in the impact piece, we'll be working a little bit more with vision, going a little, really putting a more robust image to it. We'll create some context for it. It's really fun. We'll do a little work with strategy, lifestyle design, and legacy in creating some traditions. And all of this stuff is, the foundation of it is these the core 4 of soul purpose, because they're going to influence all the other pieces, as well as your investment criteria, and your philosophies with your earning, spending, investing, saving, and giving, and anything else you want philosophy around. All right, that's it for now.